much you wanna bet that I can get you back inside your head before the summer ends and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but you don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker. You're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette. 'Cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit, and now here's your host, Rich Barris.
Welcome to Inside the Numbers, folks, with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris. There's a lot we got to get through today because if I screw this up, it's going to be a shortened episode. I told Charlie Kirk, of course, that I would respond to this story today. I promised him a long time ago that the day this happens, when we knew it would happen, or shortly thereafter, that I would come on and we would talk about it, because Charlie has been so good all of these years in helping me to set the record straight. So we have to bring this up. I don't want to spend the whole show on it, but I have to address this because obviously I have to address it. Because I thought I'd be happier, and I'm going to get to that in a second, but we have other things to talk about. The House GOP in the middle of the night, leaders amended the debt bill. I want to tell you what they did, what they changed, and why they did. We'll see if the White House continues to say they're going to veto it. I find it funny that Democrats aren't being treated like, reckless people who want to default, on our debt, right, and send the largest creditor in the U.S. into a insolvency situation where all of the national parks will be closed and veterans won't get their benefits and old people won't get their Social Security and no one will be able to go see Old Faithful and the horror of it all. I find that funny. We have that to talk about. We also have to talk about the warmongers who are celebrating Tucker leaving Fox because it is a big deal. They know it's a big deal. He is the only honest voice when it comes to starting new conflicts. And he's the only voice in primetime who spoke for the majority of Americans who absolutely don't want to fight the Russians over Ukraine. All right. Word the question correctly. And it's not even close. All right. And then, other things as well. But let's just get into this. So, yep, Nate Silver was finally shit canned. All right. And, I don't know why anyone would be surprised whatsoever. You just whack the camera, Laura. I don't know why. I don't know why anybody would be surprised, because let's talk a little bit about the history of Nate Silver. Okay. Just for everyone who needs a refresher course on how this man even became that guy. All right. And I think his hair that night let us all know that I was right and he was wrong. And you can clearly see right there how the election was going for them. It was not going well. Okay. All right. But in all seriousness, let's not mock him. Here he is on This Week. All right. This is a man who we'd have to go back in time and show you the little kid, the little dork, the little blogger who really started as a sports handicapper but failed at it, knows absolutely nothing about polls. His entrance into the polling world, all right, as a statistician, came the days of the 2008 presidential election when Hillary Clinton was being challenged by then little known name Barack Obama, even though she was supposed to be the one who was coronated, crowned, and moved forward. But he made his bones predicting that Obama was going to win Iowa, and then he was going to win all of these other states, right? And he would do these what appeared to be detailed demographic analysis, and he would make these projections. It was completely fake. David Plouffe, who was doing the campaign, the Obama campaign, was doing different things with polling back then. And David Plouffe was basically telling Nate Silver everything to say. He was giving him his polling data and assuring him that their campaign's polling data was correct, that they had better ways of doing things. They saw things nobody else did. And Nate Silver started as an Obama shill who did everything David Plouffe told him, wrote everything David Plouffe told him to write. And he would do it under a pseudonym on some left-wing blog. All right. Then it came the New York Times, and the rest is history. My 3-year-old son could have predicted that Barack Obama was going to beat crusty John McCain. That was not some kind of like guru in action. But the primary is where he started to look like he really knew what he was talking about. But the fact of the matter is, everybody could have predicted the general election outcome with John McCain, first of all, being one of the worst presidential candidates ever, but in the middle of a financial crisis, saying the economy is not my strong issue, being a warmonger when the most unpopular war in modern history was being waged and prosecuted. Nobody believed John McCain was going to win. After that, fast forward to 2010, and you had people starting advent of me and others, but I wasn't out there really yet. I'm still being a nerd with other academics and at UF and trying to build an election project that not only is better than his, but really it was Larry Sabato and his tiny crystal balls at the time. All right. And we were dorks who, for fun, so tried to devise models that would be more accurate than theirs. And lo and behold, by 2012, I was pretty confident I had one, and also that polling was broken. All right. So this is the early history of all this. In the meantime, he blew 2010 and smeared Rasmussen reports for being the only one to show that Republicans were indeed going to pick up 60 plus seats. And he mocked them for it. And he said, if Rasmussen's generic ballot is true, then it would be some historical, unprecedented pickup for the Republicans of 60 something seats. And that's just not going to happen. So he blew 2010. I want you to get this. A broken clock is right twice a day, folks. So if you constantly just use, if you constantly just predict the same team is going to win in American politics, which is a pendulum, you're basically going to hit it right every time the pendulum swings back your way. And that's all he ever did. In 2012, of course, Barack Obama was going to beat Mitt Romney. And when we started to do online panels of recruited people, it was very clear Obama never had less than a 2-point lead. We did not swing and gyrate wildly back and forth like Pew and others after Mitt Romney had a good debate performance. And the point was to prove that polls suffered from severe response biases and that people like Nate Silver are frauds because he doesn't have a model. All he does is use flawed polls and shit in, shit out. Comes 2014, he blew everything. The Kansas Senate race, Pat Roberts went on to defeat Greg Orman handily, even though he had that state leaning blue because the polls showed Greg Orman really had a chance to win. In fact, was leading in many of them. Every single election, the state of Florida was blue. Every single election, despite us predicting that, in fact, Rick Scott was going to win, was going to beat Alex Sink. Despite predicting that Rick Scott was, in fact, going to defeat Charlie Crist in a essentially, a bid for Charlie Crist to take back the governor's mansion as a Democrat. We not only predicted he would win, we predicted almost to the exact vote margin, 70,000 votes, almost on the money. Forget about the margin. I'm talking about the actual number of votes because we knew who would and would not turn out to vote. Tom Tillis never would have been senator if this man was right. We could just keep going on, and we all know what happened in 2016. All right, so I don't even have to get into that. Then 2018 comes along, and he embellishes how badly the polls or limits how bad the polls performed. And in 2018, tried to use the national vote polls, the House vote polls, to basically say that the polling isn't broken. It was a one-time deal, and that's it. When the state polls were horrible, and his model showed how bad they were. Bill Nelson lost. Andrew Gillum lost. Claire McCaskill lost. Joe Donnelly lost. We could just keep going on and on and on and on. So I don't understand why anybody expected a guy who has the legacy media brought this man in to be a fake authority. I mean, a total bogus. He was supposed to be some credible authority over an industry he knew nothing about. You need to understand this. He doesn't know how to poll. Do you know how many times I've asked Nate Silver to come, invited him to the office? You sit down, get in front of my computer, devise the survey yourself, and give the instructions to the agents and interviewers. Knock yourself out. You do it better than me. Wait. Show me how you're going to wait. Are you going to rake weight? How are you going to do it? Modeling, propensity? What are you going to do, Mr. Statistician? He's never taken us up on it. He just smeared because he's not good enough. And he was always going to run a $6 million deficit every year because his job was not to make money. Folks, what business doesn't have the requirement to stay in the green or the black in order to survive? No company keeps a person going who bleeds them every single year. He provided them a service. They paid $6 million a year for that man to tell the country that Democrats were going to win every election. He influenced betting markets, and a ton of people made money off of it. So while I'm happy he's gone, the sad truth is this. His legacy, tarnishing the polling industry, tarnishing the credibility of this industry, it will stay. It's here to stay. And now, sadly, it's being used by both sides. He's a stain on this industry. It's that you can't get out. He has corrupted George Gallup's vision and what the entire point of the polling industry was supposed to be. What George Gallup and those of us who followed him and agreed with him believed it was what it should be. The public, their opinions have to accurately be measured in a self-governing society so lawmakers can know where you stand on these issues. It's not okay to repeatedly put up with your stupid little pollster scorecard, banning people who are better than you because you have a personal gripe against them, and holding up august everyone for the world to see like they're credible, lending them some credibility, the world's worst pollsters year in and year out. Because it's not just the horse races. If they can't pull the horse race, then when a vote goes to limit the Second Amendment, or when a vote goes to fund Ukraine, and those same polls are playing the same games, pushing public opinion on you instead of representing public opinion, it damages democracy. It damages self-governance. That's what George Gallup understood, and these people made a mockery of it. They made an absolute mockery of it. And now both sides are doing it. Let's get real. What he has done to this industry is, look, the original unskew the polls guy is now putting out polls in battleground states showing DeSantis beating Trump when he has a 35-point at least deficit nationally. Folks, if you are down 35 points nationally, you are not winning battleground states right now. For those of us who are politicos, it's hard to understand that Ron DeSantis is still a relatively unknown person. So you don't understand when he puts out these polls showing how Ron DeSantis is doing better than a man who has universal name ID. You're kidding yourself. There are tons of people, normies, who will vote in the presidential election who don't know him, don't know enough about him. And instead of doing what Mark Mitchell and I did a couple weeks ago on this show and in detail explain to you that share of the vote is more important than the margin, they're using Nate Silver tactics to confuse, to mislead. It's propaganda. And he made it okay. That is the legacy of this man. He made the weaponization of polling okay. Polling should be sacred. Now, there were always games people played, folks. But generally speaking, when we got closer to elections, most people wanted to get it right. When I was coming up, most people just wanted to get it right. This man bullied people into getting it wrong. That's the truth. And shame on other pollsters. Murray at Monmouth, Kimball at Emerson. You know damn well what I'm talking about. You're more worried about your grade on the pollster scorecard at 538 than you were about telling certain people the truth. They know it. Everybody knows it. And unfortunately, we're going to have to live with this now. Which is why I started the public polling project. Thank you, New York Post, for recognizing it is by far, it's not even close, the most transparent polling conducted in this country. Not even close. Nobody releases information that we release. Nobody disseminates transparency in this industry like we do. It's time for everybody else to start doing it. Because the way it's going now, it's not good enough. So as happy as I'd like to be that Nate the Slimer from 5 Turd Fake is gone, he's not gone. His stink remains. All right, moving on. The House Republicans amended the debt bill, and we got to go to Politico, read an article real quick, and talk about this, okay? I mean, look, honestly, some conservatives are going to say that it's better this way. Some are going to say it's not. The fact of the matter is, you still have some hard no's. The last I heard, Andy Biggs is a lean no. There's such a small minority. I mean, such a small majority the House Republicans have, thanks to Kevin McCarthy thinking that he didn't need MAGA in the Congress. Because of that, they can't lose. I think it's, at this point, I think the count is 4 more. They can't lose anymore, assuming, as Hakeem Jeffries said, that everyone on the Democratic side is going to vote no. The Biden White House signaled that on Tuesday that they would, before this was amended, that they would vote, that they would veto this bill. I don't know if the subsidies for ethanol and other stuff that remains as part of a Democrat platform will stay. Now that it will stay, I don't know that it will change their mind, but we'll just have to say it, right? McCarthy renegotiates a GOP debt bill in dead of night. God, do me a favor, Gibson. Just do me a favor. Just email me when you make this dirty lemon finish on a 1959 reissue clone, whatever you want to call it, VOS. When you make one without the damn pick guard, hit me up. House Republicans' push to pass a debt ceiling plan appeared back on track Wednesday morning after GOP leaders made 11-hour changes to satisfy more than a dozen disgruntled members. A walk back after openly refusing to tweak the bill. Right, so him and others had said this bill is done and we're going to have a vote on it and we're going to get it passed, but he couldn't get it passed. So in the middle of the night, Kevin McCarthy changed some provisions. During the early hours of the morning on Wednesday, the House Rules Committee agreed to major changes to help satisfy the demands of Midwesterners who were raising concerns about ethanol provisions and some conservative demands for stronger work requirements for social programs. Listen, here's why non-Trump Republicans cannot win the Midwest. All right. It's just one reason, but it's a pretty big reason. It's indicative of the attitude over ideology being the Republican Party's barrier to breaking through the blue wall in the Rust Belt. Early in the day, Speaker Kevin McCarthy and his team had stressed to members they'd have to accept the measure as is, but that changed around 2 a.m. when House Budget, well, I don't know why it goes backwards like that. When House Budget Committee Chair Jody Arrington, Republican of Texas, offered a Hail Mary, a so-called manager's amendment intended to prevent mass defections on the bill, with which McCarthy hoped to pass as soon as today. Several of the GOP holdouts with ethanol concerns signaled overnight they would flip their votes to yes, given the changes, according to 2 people familiar with the discussions. And why does it matter? Iowa, folks, again, this is why Trump is obviously favored to win the Iowa caucuses. Look, there are things about Midwestern Republicans. Yeah, they're conservative in every other respect, but they feel, if the farmers in Iowa don't get a subsidy for corn, for instance, then why the hell should all some of these other big wigs, get subsidies for various things? Why should all the left's, what's the word I'm looking for? Why should all their friends in green energy get subsidies while Republican farmers don't? All right. So you have some Midwest Republicans that obviously, look, we spend the money. It's unfair. Even though I'm for less spending. It's a matter of fairness. And that's why Trump does so well in the Rust Belt while other Republicans cannot. He speaks about fairness. His platform, which is a populist platform as opposed to a conservative only, it speaks to fairness. I mean, the fact is the world is the way it is, and you have to live with the world that you have before you change it. So it doesn't make any sense to basically nail yourself to a cross if nothing's changing. All right, several of the GOP holdouts with ethanol concern. Right. Quote, Midwest members made some good progress tonight. One of the members involved in the talk said, speaking on condition of anonymity. This Republican cited this securing of, quote, 5 critical wins for biofuels. Now, here's something conservatives will complain about. These biofuel subsidies and these critical wins were part of a Democratic bill. That's the truth. Let's be honest. People were very pleased with this amendment, echoed another Republican familiar with the conversations. While it remains unclear if the wee hour changes are enough to secure final passage on the floor, which Republicans are aiming for later Wednesday today, McCarthy has regained momentum heading into a morning House GOP conference meeting that could help seal the fate of the bill. Since McCarthy can only stand to lose 4 Republican votes, assuming full attendance, wrangling all his members has been no easy task. In the end, GOP leaders agreed to changes that are designed to appease nearly all of their holdouts. The amended proposal accelerates changes to work requirements for Matt Gaetz for those receiving federal benefits, including food stamps, to 2024, a change intended to satisfy a small group of conservatives that includes Matt Gaetz. For people who are bitching about Matt Gaetz in the Tuesday committee and the moderate Republican conference, I would argue, why are you a Republican? What makes you a Republican? You're okay with changing the the enforcement of work requirements. You just don't want it done while you're in office, right? Cowards. You're a bunch of unprincipled, slimy little cowards. Matt Gaetz is what he's asking for is something everyone who calls themselves a Republican should support. It's fundamental to your so-called ideology, your so-called principles. This is the joke, man, about these moderates. Moderate means you don't have a core. You want my opinion? Moderate means you don't have a spine. You don't have any real beliefs or convictions. You can just be fungible and move in any direction you want. Moderate means you want to look like you're enforcing work requirements. You just don't want it done while you have to campaign and defend it. That's moderate. Starting in September, states should be barred from saving up unused exemptions under the SNAP Food Assistance Program. And in October, additional constraints on the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Program would kick in. But it's more than that. They don't want the enforcement. Major portions of the Inflation Reduction Act signed into law last summer would be eliminated as well. $1 billion to boost the adoption of building codes for energy-efficient construction, $5 billion for loans to back energy infrastructure projects, $1.9 billion in grants to improve transportation access to neighborhoods, $200 million for the National Park System maintenance projects, by the way, and $5 billion in grants for reducing climate change. By the way, the National Park maintenance projects, that's Democrats' that's their version of like an infrastructure program. It's such a joke. Infrastructure is much of it, especially bridges in this country, largely private owned. They want to give the money to their friends and the public sector. And $5 billion in grants for reducing climate pollution. And that ultimately would have been part of it that would have impacted the ethanol subsidies. They wanted to carve out for them. You can get rid of the rest of it, but we want our ethanol subsidies since so much of the other money is going to go to like Solyndra-like projects. So if that's okay, then it's not okay to take away the money for, it's farmers, folks. And the revised bill would still repeal the tax credits on clean fuels, but would now include an exception to allow the tax perk to continue for those in binding contracts or locked into investments for sustainable aviation fuel or for producing other, quote, clean fuel before April 19th. The amendment would also kill changes in the incentive structure for renewable diesel, second-generation biofuel, carbon dioxide sequestration, and biodiesel. Still, McCarthy may have some work left to do. As of Tuesday evening, at least 2 GOP lawmakers were declared no's for different reasons. Nancy Mace, she's concerned about spending, but also you're going to laugh your you-know-what's off when you actually hear what the other one is. Remember, she beat Harrington in the primary, the Trump endorsed Karen. Tim Burchett in Tennessee, also no. By the way, Tim Burchett said something over the weekend to Maria Bartiromo, which before I brought up, I wanted to make some phone calls and ask. And apparently, this IRS whistleblower could be really bad news for Joe Biden, who just announced his 2024 reelection with a whimper. And ironically, Scott Adams said, it's just more lies. Like, he's pushing lies in this announcement. It's totally ridiculous. And I said, Scott, man, go back in time. Look at his announcement video in 2020. There were pieces of Russia collusion. He repeated the very fine people hoax. It was part of the decency push. We're not a decent people if we're led by a man who says neo-Nazis are very fine people. That, of course, is a lie, a dangerous lie. In addition, Representative Andy Biggs has signaled he may oppose the bill. And what Burchett is talking about is there's a whistleblower from the IRS who led them down a paper trail. And it showed not 3, but upwards of 9 members of the Biden family engaging in corrupt business practices. And that it ties it a little closer to Joe Biden. There's even stuff about a prostitution ring. I kid you not. And what Burchett said on Maria Bartiromo that raised my eyebrow is he said, I don't know how we don't impeach him if this information pans out. I don't know how we don't. So it's conceivable come 2024 in November, folks, you're going to have 2 impeached presidents running against each other. That's how unstable this country's become. And I'm not saying, I think the impeachments against Donald Trump were ridiculous. If what I heard yesterday is true, I don't even know how Joe Biden is in the White House right now. He should be in, I'm not going to say it. I mean, honestly, you and I would be behind bars if this is true. And it is true. It's going to be true. All right. Mace argued to reporters that McCarthy's debt ceiling proposal didn't address balancing the federal budget and that it doesn't really tackle spending. All right. And Gates, who had said before this, by the way, that there were 8 no votes. All right. I don't know that that's still the case now, but again, 4 is the magic number here. Burchett, meanwhile, told Politico that he is a decided no after he was stood up by someone in leadership during a planned meeting on Wednesday. Well, you know what then? You want to push aside Tennessee, the heart of the Republican Party. You want to push aside Iowa and Ohio, the new hearts of the Republican Party, because that's who Republicans are going to have to learn that business cannot be conducted as usual anymore. Republican voters will recoil over it. The reality is I'm a no vote and just don't take me for granted. They do take these guys for granted, don't they? Be real, don't they? Biggs, meanwhile, described himself as a lean no and warned that discussions, quote, might have gone beyond the place, quote, to get him to a yes, arguing that Republicans should return to fiscal year 2019 spending. The Arizona Republican is part of a conservative bloc who also includes Representatives Tom Massey, Eli Crane, Massey from Kentucky, Crane also from Arizona, who have been pushing McCarthy to go further in his opening bid. And their thinking is very clear because I'm familiar with it. By the time this gets to the Senate, and Biden is a yes on it, they're going to gut the hell out of it. So why would you not put your best foot forward right now? And by the way, some Trumpers turned DeSantis who were all for McCarthy being speaker. I know for a fact at least one of them, a condition of him supporting Kevin McCarthy for speaker was that this very deal be used to deal with illegal immigration. And I haven't heard a peep, not a single peep, from anyone saying I'm going to hold his feet to the fire. Because that's not happening here. Not even in their first attempt. This is another point Eli Crane made. You're going to try to shut down the border. Do it now. Or secure it, not even shut it down. It's a sign of a bigger potential headache awaiting McCarthy if he didn't make changes. House Freedom Caucus Chair Scott Perry, Bob Good from Virginia, and other members of his group were publicly warning that they were undecided on the bill as they pushed to tighten work requirements for government programs. In addition to wanting to speed up their implementation, some conservatives were also looking to beef up the number of hours recipients had to work per week from 20 to 30. That's not going to happen now. Quote, I'd love to see some changes on the work requirements. I want to see people going to work for like more than just a hobby, Perry said. And good for you, Scott Perry. Good for you. Perry, though, declined to say if he had enough votes to sink the legislation if it wasn't changed. Quibbing, that's for me to know and for you to see on the board. Good job, Scott. Good job. I mean, I just think it's totally ridiculous. How could you oppose these provisions on work requirements if you call yourself a Republican? The truth is they're not Republicans. This is crazy. This isn't even close. This is a no-brainer. This is not for debate. Americans, by the way, support work requirements. The truth is we don't even enforce them. That's the truth of it. Many of these guys are just asking for them to enforce them for once. But they don't. They won't because they don't want that on their record. They don't want that on their conscience. You understand what I'm saying? They don't want to have to defend it to their people. They'd rather spend their money on the other things. I mean, it's that simple. Let's take a quick break. All right. So we'll see where it goes, and we'll see what the Biden White House says with the new version. Maybe they even said it now. I don't know yet, but we're going to find out soon. All right. It's a fantastic deal for Patriots right now. I mean, if you got it, kick out for it. National security experts are warning that our aging power grid is more vulnerable than ever. January marked the third time a power station in North Carolina was damaged by gunfire. Authorities said that this raises a new level of threat and are now checking our grid for vulnerabilities. They identified 9 key substations that, if attacked, power would be knocked out from coast to coast for up to 18 months. Imagine it. A blackout that lasts not days, but weeks or months. Everyone's life would be frozen in time right at the moment the power failed. Lights all over the country would go out, throwing people into total darkness. And that's why having your own solar power is more important than ever. With the Patriot Power Generator, you get a solar generator that doesn't install into your house because it's portable. You could take it with you, even use it inside. And right now, you can go to 4patriots.com and use the promo code TPP10 to get 10% off your purchase on anything in the store, including the Patriot Power Generator, which they are selling with the 3-month People's Pundit Daily Survival Kit for the same price as the Power Generator, and you still get 10% off. It's powerful enough for your phones, medical devices, even your fridge. Of course, you'll get their famous guarantee for an entire year after your order, plus free shipping on orders over $97. And a portion of every sale is donated to charities who support our veterans and their families. Just go to 4patriots.com, use the promo code TPP10 to get 10% off. Again, that's 4patriots.com, use the promo code TPP10 to get 10% off today. All right. I mean, you just can't beat that deal right there. 688 servings of free survival food with your Patriot Power Generator. It's the 3-month People's Pundit Kit, folks. It's incredible. Incredible. It's like off the bat, almost $1,000 in savings. It's like $700 in savings off the bat. And then with the 10% off, that's like another, it's over $1,000. It's incredible. It really is. All right. Let's see. I think that if I am so limited on time here, we could talk really quick about the bank, and then I want to move on to Tucker because it's more than Tucker. It's not just Tucker. It's what's going to happen now in the court of public opinion, okay? We can celebrate the firing of Nate Silver, but Tucker leaving Fox. Now the country does not have a primetime voice who's sane and who will tell you the truth about the Ukraine war and other things that are going on, right? I mean, to me, that's a serious issue. And by the way, they're doing this debt limit bill as we have more risks of bank failures that's just not making the news. First Republic Bank Last I looked, it looked like they were halting trading again because they collapsed. This stock, folks, this company, its 52-week high was $171.09. Its 52-week low was just broken again today. It was $8.10. But now, of course, falling all the way to $4.76 at one part today. It's just 95% of its value in the last, month? I think. Yeah, I got the month up here. I mean, this is just insane. Insane. Anyway, let's look at the day. Okay, it's not giving me, I guess it's not giving me the day. And now you're not going to let me go back? Are you kidding me? Come on. Don't be like that. I'll have to refresh the whole thing. Don't be like that. Yeah, you're going to make me be like this. All right. Bottom line is another San Francisco jammy. Okay. That Jim Cramer had touted, I mean, maybe a month ago, said it was solid. I'm not even joking. It's like maybe 5 weeks ago. So this is now the second bank that is totally cratered that Jim Cramer suggested you buy. I mean, they need to take mad money off the air. I wonder how much money this guy's costing people. How much money is he losing? Are people losing by listening to him? Should do a poll. Have you ever listened to Jim Cramer and lost money? I bet you it's such a large population that it'll be statistically significant in an adult population. It's tragic. Look at this from the 1 year. You can see what happened here. Volume, which was, not terrible. The dumping, by the way, there's a report recently, and you can see that lawmakers on both sides were dumping some of these. I think I want to say it was the New York Times. These people claim that this is like a blind trust. They don't ever talk to the broker. This just can't. It's an honor system. This is what's flawed about the system. It's an honor system. So you get a private briefing about how FRC is going to collapse in 30 days. You sell off all your shares, but you can pass a note to somebody. It's like flying kites in jail or something. I mean, this is not a good enough system. Remember Richard Burr in North Carolina with COVID? Obviously, people violate the honor system in this, and we need to do more because it's not okay that the rest of the country is dealing with bank crises and financial institutional failure, and you don't have any information about it. And in fact, so-called credible names like Jim Cramer and what's the other one? Not The Economist. It was the Financial Times. Forbes was Silicon Valley Bank. But I think it was the Financial Times was just cheerleading for this company a couple of months ago. So again, we definitely have some reforms that we need to do. All right, I do want to move on to Tucker. Let's move on to Tucker. Here's Lee Hudson, who also refuses, I guess, to pay for her check from Politico. All right. By the way, look at how the left has melted down over this on Twitter. Look at how they've melted down over this. Crybabies. Look at Dan Rather. Today proves yet again that you can't buy class, but you could buy a blue check mark. Okay, dude. All right, Dan. Where's Mary, Dan? Where's Mary Mapes? Where's your buddy who helped you fabricate the smear against George W. Bush and its service record in 2004? This guy is literally the father of fake news, and he's got the balls, the audacity to talk the way he does. Why is he even still here anymore? Honest to God. Look at Bette Midler. Who's that again? Wasn't she like the wind beneath someone's wings 50 years ago? Who the hell is this woman? Elon took away my blue check. Elon took away my blue check. I'm unverified all these years and thousands of tweets and free content. This worm is the narrative to decertify me. Bet I almost have as many followers as you. Jason Alexander, another one, by the way, complaining. You're a nobody. You're a has-been. You're not that special. What you're really really pissed off about is that you need a handicap in the marketplace of ideas. You need a handicap. You need somebody to spot you the six ball because your ideas suck. Nobody really supports them unless you have an unfair handicap. You need friends in Silicon Valley to censor your political opponents. You need them to deplatform your political opponents. You need a cute little check because it's an air of credibility that they can deny people who do better work and make better arguments. So by revoking my blue check mark because I wouldn't pay some arbitrary fee, someone can just be me and say a bunch of bullshit. Stay classy, Alyssa. Stay classy. You got a mouth like a truck driver. I don't care how good looking you were once upon a time. You got a mouth of a truck driver. Does that mean Twitter and Elon Musk are liable for defamation or identity theft or fraud? Folks, that is totally ridiculous. There are impersonation accounts all the time. Nobody stuck up for me when Twitter refused to give me a blue check mark, even though I've been on like almost every network. There were parody accounts and mocking accounts smearing us. Nobody cared. Guess what? I got on with my life. You're not that important again. I don't know. You charmed somebody some time ago in the 1990s. Like who the hell do you think you are? Sad thing about someone like Alyssa Milano. Time is not friendly, you know? Like and then you want to wade into like intellectual waters and make a fool of yourself by saying something stupid like identity theft. Worry about your credit cards and your social security number and your mortgage and your title. Don't worry about your Twitter account. What an imbecile. Julie Melner. Elon thinks this is a funny joke. As a former verified account who lost their blue checks, I know how dangerous this really is. People are going to die. No, people died when you told the lie that Donald Trump was a traitor who colluded with Russia to steal the 2016 election. That's when people died. NPR bounces. SCOTUS blog in a show of solidarity announces they're leaving too. Like, these people really over embellish. They overdo things. They're hysterical, and really they overstate their importance. You're not that important. And I did want to show that. You're just not that important. And you really think you are. Here's another political article, new on Tucker Carlson leaving. And this is why I'm getting into this, because this is about the handicap, folks. That's why they're pissed about paying $8. They got $8. Alyssa Milano doesn't have $8. Jason Alexander's complaining because why? He was on like Seinfeld 40 years ago and he wasn't even the star. That's not what this is. They are weak-minded people who can't debate their views. They need people to bully and abuse and persecute their opponents because they can't do it on their own. Nate couldn't survive in the marketplace because he wasn't talented enough. He didn't know what he was doing. They can't survive in the marketplace either, and their favored party won't win without a handicap. The abortion issue is a perfect example. Anyway, now to their new cause du jour, which has been their old cause du jour forever, war. The offensive is coming. The Crimean offensive is coming. They need the world to think that their 8,000 new trained 15-year-olds are winning. They're beating the Russians. They cannot have Tucker on Fox News or me or whatever. That's why you think YouTube doesn't think before they decide to send a threat. Stop talking about Ukraine like that or else. This guy has a massive audience, had a massive audience. Listen to the Pentagon. On Tucker Carlson leaving Fox, quote, "We're a better country without him," bagging on our military every night in front of hundreds of thousands of people. A senior Pentagon official. Maybe we can't win wars because the people at the Pentagon are too stupid to count. Millions of viewers, not hundreds of thousands, you moron. No wonder we can't be a bunch of sandal-wearing goat herders in Afghanistan. This guy was too busy painting his helmet pink, rainbowing his bullets, to learn how to counter or be not so lazy that he couldn't have looked up ratings before he opened his big mouth. Hundreds of thousands. That's like the daily audience at CNN, stooge. You warmongering stooge. We're a better country. Military scared the hell out of the founders, folks. Standing armies scared the hell out of the founders. Having somebody like Lloyd Austin, who doesn't even believe in civilian control over the military, would probably cause our founders to flip out, and there would be, let me word it like this, significant political upheaval. These people want a military junta. They think our country's better off with somebody not questioning them. How dare you question us? He doesn't give a damn about whatever Tucker said, bagging on our military every night. Well, you earned it, number one. Number two, it's his right to question the military. You don't care if someone's insulting the military, the Pentagon, the Defense Department. You don't care about that. You care about somebody questioning your authority. Juntas don't last. What a scumbag. These are the scumbags that work in the Pentagon, folks. Trash. Absolute trash. His job, Laura. That's right. Laura just said they're criticizing Tucker for doing his job. That's right. It's his job. That's what he's supposed to do. And by the way, they're liars. They've been lying to everybody. Time and time again, they've been lying to everyone. We're supposed to believe them? You lost your credibility because you're a liar. People still aren't going to find you credible, Tucker gone or not. You know what, Laura? While I go and run and get a water, take a real quick break. Let's listen to the video from Jam and Bean. I've not even heard it. Then we'll tell you about the deal when we come back. Oh, look, it's just like them showing how it's roasted and done. Oh, God, that's such a great process. Or no, is it muted? No, is it muted? Did I mute it? No. Dude, how cool is this? You see this? They put up I honestly didn't know. It's Jam and Bean. They put up a video about how they roast. Oh, there's their popcorn popping. Look at that. Little popcorns. TPP 40, baby. Look at that. Oh my God. Everything natural, of course. Oh, look at that. That's caramel, isn't it? Oh, for the love of God. So good. If you don't know, folks at Jam and Bean, jamnbean.com, all right, are offering right now what is an insane deal. There's the maple syrup. It's here, Laura. The maple syrup is here. We've been waiting for this maple syrup. I know how it's made. Oh, load it. Yeah, jamandbean.com. When you sign up for a new subscription, coffee, whatever it may be, use the promo code TPP40, all right? And that will get you 40% off the initial subscription fee. Plus, you will still get the 10% off on the subsequent renewals. Oh, man, that looked amazing. I told you it's a company that is, first of all, run by a bunch of patriots, pure patriots. And secondly, they are artists in the art of coffee roasting, which is an art form. I'm telling you, if you've ever witnessed good coffee roasters, it's really a sight to behold. And you compare their beans, their freshly roasted beans to Starbucks, folks, you'll never drink Starbucks again. Pulverized into an oblivion. A freshly, correctly roasted bean should literally be porous with oils and aroma. All right? It shouldn't be some shriveled up thing that looks like an 80-year-old Russian in a sauna with no towel on. You feel me? Jamandbean.com, TPP 40 at checkout. TPP 40 at checkout. You know what? I'm going to try to, because this, correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, but this interview isn't that long. So you think I could tie the shows together? You think I could pull this off? I'm going to try, folks. If I blow it, I blow it, and I'll make it up to you. I'll make the time up to you. Maybe we'll do extra Q&A on Friday. All right. Maybe not maybe. That's what we'll do. We'll leave more time for questions on Friday. But in about a couple of minutes here, I got to go talk to Charlie about this guy. All right. And, I promised Charlie this for a long time because both Charlie and I knew this was coming for a long time. He had been on the chopping block for a while. And it was like pretty much only a matter of time. But in truth, it was always only a matter of time because at the end of the day, folks, you can't keep paying for a narrative that doesn't pay for itself forever. You know what I mean? They'll find somebody else. Plus, he lost a lot of his credibility, right? With the advent of people like us and others and, professional gamblers saying the best way to make money in political betting markets is to bet against Nate Silver. That can't go on forever. And eventually, they'll find somebody else. I bet you they're jumping up and down for joy with tiny crystal balls yesterday. I bet you Larry and his tiny crystal balls were jumping up and down. Stoked. I remember before Larry turned into a complete nutcase. Apparently, he always was a nutcase. And he just hit it really well. He faked being like a Kennedy-like Democrat. I come from Italian heritage or whatever it may be, and I'm a Catholic. My family were Catholics. It was a great time of honor for a Catholic president, yada, yada, yada. In truth, Kennedy wouldn't support anything. Look, his nephew right now is running against it. And much of his family is too afraid to even back their own kin. His wife's losing business over it. JFK wouldn't buy this crap. He would not be going along with this. I'm telling you, no way. And neither would Bobby. People tend to forget the real history. They were pragmatic people. They were not radical leftists. In fact, they hated communists. Now look at them. So, with that in mind, I feel like they'll find somebody else. But Sabato at one point, when he was new, when he was new, up and coming, he trashed 538 so badly one day. It's like, of course, forgotten about. Nobody wants to ever bring it up or talk about it again. But he's like, this is not how you election forecast. Like, it's not a model. This isn't real. This is like totally fake. You can't say there's a 78% chance this candidate wins. You can give a range, right? But the truth is the model wasn't real. He was just his polling. It was just public polling. Adjusted like Ron DeSantis's pollster argued unskewing the polls in 2012 for Mitt Romney because he was Mitt Romney's pollster. Nate Silver essentially was unskewing polls. That's what he was doing. And then he would play with some super secret formula none of us were allowed to know. And it would go into the hat. And real statisticians have proven it because the model moves with public polling, nothing else. It wasn't real. Even Larry Sabato knew it wasn't real. All right, 12:57. How are we going to roll? How are we going to do this, Laura? You got my link? Let's see if I can.
Yeah, I got your link.
Oh, did you send that? Did you ask them if it's the same link for the?
Yes. It's
Okay.
really big.
All right. So did you already send it?
Yeah.
All right. So it looks like the first and third Tuesday of every month at one.
Fully confirmed, yes.
It's not? Okay. Oh, I thought it was. It looked like you had hatched it out here.
It looks like it, yes, but I still gotta talk to Andrew.
But I can at least say that maybe I can't say the exact days and
Yes,
times, but I
you
can.
say you'll be appearing
So
on Charlie
I'll be a
Kirk
regular
more.
visitor on Charlie Kirk more often. And that's great news. Great news all the way around. Because there is going to be a void. It's got to be filled. The same thing when it comes to, I want to get your thoughts, guys. The same thing when it comes to what we're going to do in general. So with Rush gone, I figured there was no danger, with all due respect to Buck Sexton. I mean, he falls for a lot of doozies. But he's no Rush Limbaugh. He's no threat to us. You know, like Rush Limbaugh, when we first started this show, whether you're on the left, you're on the right, the guy's audience was massive. Nobody came close. So we started this show, and when we did, we started at 10 a.m. and then ran up until Rush Limbaugh, right? Now I felt pretty comfortable that the show will grow at noon because there is no person who could fill Rush's shoes. So I didn't think there was any danger there of going to noon. We long thought about more of a primetime show. Maybe, and Laura and I are kicking this around, maybe no one's going to replace Tucker. Nobody's going to replace Tucker Carlson. Maybe at 8 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do something different. Or maybe Monday, we start on Monday at 8. There are these different options out there. Because we don't always do what are the odds. And I've been just kind of replacing it with an inside the numbers. But what are the odds was later in the day. And that audience got used to it being later in the day. What if we just did it all the way at 8? Like to hear your comments. Tell me what you think. All right. Like to hear it. I'm going to try to do this. If I disconnect you guys, all right, then it's an accident. And we'll try to figure out a way to make this up. Extra Q&A. That's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to just join Charlie and sit here and hang out as we're on Charlie. Let's see if it works, guys. It's because you should be able to hear Charlie back. You will hear Charlie back. What am I going to do? Go to a 10-minute commercial break? You know, I mean, I'm going to be on for so long. And then, you know what I mean, Laura? I'm only going to be on for so long. And it's like, it just seems like a waste of an hour to me. We're going to see. Laura and I are debating this here and trying to figure out. Can you ask? Just pause the show and do this real quick. Laura's got a good point. But I could mute that. You know what I mean? I could. I can. Simple right there.
Yeah, and then you mute yourself to talk to Charlie.
No, I can mute it on here. On our end. I'm serious. I can. What do you think, guys?
As a producer, I tell you no.
As a producer, she's telling me no. All right, let's do this. 1 o'clock. Oh, 1 o'clock. That's tough. All right. Join us in 30 minutes. That's right. I'm going to redo this and duplicate the episode. And it's going to say part 2. All right. Of episode 350. Let's do that. All right. Stand fast. We'll be right back in 30 minutes. All right. Keep an eye out for the notification that we're going back live. It'll be a different link. It will be. But I see what you're saying. All right. Let's do that. All right. We'll see you in 30 minutes, folks. All the best. Stand fast. Thanks for watching.